Hey Meeple people, and on today's vlog, we're playing Endogenesis 2nd Edition by Hyperlixir Games. Let's get to it! Well, hey Meeple people, how's it going? And today we are playing Endogenesis 2nd Edition by Hyperlixir Games. We're going to go to Sarah and see if she can just tell us a little bit about this before we get to playing. Can you tell us a little bit more about it, Sarah?
Sure. So Endogenesis is a game for 1 to 5 players. It takes anywhere from 40 to 120 minutes to play.
Oh my!
Yeah, it was a lot longer than I expected, but we'll talk more about that later. In the game, there's a few different ways that you can interact with the game. There's actually 3 different modes of play, including a head-to-head competitive mode for 2 players. There's a solo version. There's a very complex battle royale if you have multiple experienced players. So there are a few different ways to interact with this. However, today we're going to be talking about just the most normal version of the game, where 2 players can sort of head-to-head battle it out. So the game is going to end when either both players have 2 of these prisms here, and then it'll come down to points, or when one player has 3 of these prisms. So what's going to happen is we're going to be attempting to battle monsters, and we are also going to be gathering resources and equipment and stuff like that to ourselves so that we can sort of grow and evolve over the course of the game. And then when legendary monsters appear, hopefully we'll be beefed up enough to where we can attack a legendary monster and take it down. And if you can do that, then you'll get a prism as part of your reward for doing that. And like I said, the first player to acquire 3 prisms wins the game. Or if both players in this version of the game get 2 prisms, then it comes down to kind of like a points-based system to see who has sort of developed their infrastructure the most, and then that person wins. So this game is a fairly complex game. We're not going to hit on all of the rules at all in this sort of little overview of the game. Just kind of give you a taste of what this is like, so that you can decide if it's something that you might want to learn a little bit more about. I've pulled out some cards that I wanted to talk about specifically, so I'm going to bring these over here and I'm going to talk about these here in a minute. So the way that this works is that players are given these cards from the realm of knowledge, and they have a few different things going on. A lot of them are these sort of skills that you can learn for your character, and there's 2 different kinds of these skills. There's the regular ones, and then there are these ultimate ones here. So players can have at most 3 of the sort of basic ones, and then at most 1 of the ultimate ones. So we're going to be doing things to acquire these skills, and then actually leveling those skills up using these shards that we'll collect by interacting with the monsters that we'll encounter, and we'll use those shards to level up the skills that we've acquired, as well as increase our maximum health. So we're going to be acquiring and playing these kinds of cards to try to defeat those monsters. Also in this deck right here, there are artifact cards, which are these right here. They're one-time use cards that give you a pretty strong ability. So we're going to be playing these cards in order to attempt to defeat these monsters. You can also attack other players with your skills and abilities, and sometimes you can simultaneously attack multiple creatures, including other players. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to put these monsters out here. Now this is the active monster right here, so this is the monster that we're sort of dealing with at this moment, but we can see this one sort of coming over the horizon. So we know what's coming up, but this is the one that we're dealing with for right now. Each monster is sort of unique. So this one, they tell us that this monster has a health of 6. So his health marker starts right here. And then he has some different abilities that he'll perform over the course of his time with us in the game. And it also tells us where the rewards for this go. So for this case here, this one is going to go on the floor like that. And it tells you what rewards you get when you kill this monster. So his health starts out at 6. In order for me to kill him, I'll have to reduce his health below 1 on my turn. If while I'm reducing his health, his max health is going to stay there at 6, but if while I'm reducing his health, I would land on a space that has a reward on it, like this one does here, I would get to claim that reward. So in this case here, it says on his level 4 of his life, the player who gets him there gets a shard, which you can use to sort of upgrade your skills, and then they also get to heal. So if I wasn't at my max health, then I could heal as well as collect this shard. If you defeat a monster, we're going to sort of pause your turn and deal with anything that he would do. Some of them have an effect that happens like when they die. So we would deal with that. We deal with any rewards that you would get, that kind of thing. This one says, when I kill him, I get a shard, and then I also get to draw a card from the realm of knowledge. So we would deal with that, and then he would go away. He gets discarded. Oh, you know what? He can just stay right there, actually. And then what happens is the next monster, the one that we knew was coming, he will come out. Sometimes, again, they have like arrival texts that will activate. Sometimes each monster is going to interact with people differently, that kind of thing. So this monster, again, he has a health of 6. So we're going to just reset this health here. And we would reveal the next card from the realm of chaos. So sometimes there are events in the realm of chaos. For the most part, those are going to impact players in a positive way. There are also sometimes legendary monsters. This is a regular one, but there is a legendary one in my hand right here because I wanted to show it to you. So sometimes there are legendary monsters that come out. Now these guys are a lot harder to take down, but when you kill them, you get one of these prisms, and you need 3 of these prisms to win. So when the legendary monsters come up, that's sort of your chance to get one of those prisms you need to win the game. We're also going to talk a little bit about these other cards that are in the realm of chaos. So I talked about the events. There's also distortion cards that come out of the realm of chaos. And when a distortion card comes out, you put it here, and it sort of continues to affect the game sort of in a permanent way until another distortion comes out or until other events would remove the distortion from play. So distortion cards come out and they stay in play until they're removed. And then there are also, in order to sort of counteract all the negativity that's happening to us, there's also cards from the realm of wonder. And we're able to acquire these cards in different ways. One of them is by leveling up the health of our character. So this is sort of like our health tracker. Everybody starts the game with their max health at 3. And throughout the game, you may gain or lose health. So your little health marker will move up and down. If you ever lose all your health, you die, but you're not out of the game. Just some bad stuff happens for a turn. But you can also increase your max health. And as you increase your max health, there are 3 chances for you to draw one of these Realm of Wonder cards. And I think there may be a few other ways to get these as well, but that's how I got them primarily in my last game. So these are very powerful one-time use cards that you can use throughout the game to help you sort of meet your goals and that kind of thing. There are also these class cards. Now these class cards are pretty hard to get, but they're also very, very powerful. And these, they're holographic. They're so cool. So these are cards that are going to require a little bit of effort to get. These are challenging to get. So each one of these has requirements at the bottom of the card. So this one, for example, the deity one, it requires that you have 4 mythic skills, 3 basic and 1 ultimate. So these, remember, are our skills. This one right here is a mythic skill. And I know that because it says mythic right here. here, and also because of the background image on this card here. So this is a mythic. If I was able to manage to make all 3 of my standard skills and my ultimate skill a mythic skill, then I would be eligible to get this class card. But in order to get it, I would have to have another card from the deck of wonders in my hand that would say that I could actually access the class card deck. So I have to kind of like meet these conditions and then play that card to be able to get the class cards. But they're really nice. I had this one in my last game. I had this formless card in my last game, and it let me copy the ability of another card that matched the sort of set symbol of my ultimate, my ultimate skill. So the way that the game works is that on a player's turn, they're going to be playing cards from their hand in order to pay costs, which will allow them to activate skills that they've already played. They're also going to be able to add or change their skills, right? So you can only have a maximum of 3 standard skills and 1 ultimate skill. But if I have a skill that I don't particularly think is useful to me, or I have one in my hand that I'd rather use instead, I can discard skills that I've already learned to play new ones. And so basically we're just going to be playing cards in order to sort of hone our skills and learn new skills, as well as, interact with these events and the distortions that will occur. And the whole point is to sort of level up your own skills and abilities so that when you encounter those monsters, you can fight them, and you can fight them well enough so that hopefully you get either all the rewards or the lion's share of the rewards for defeating those monsters, especially those legendary monsters, because that's how you get the crystals that you need to win the game, the prisms. So like I said, this game is a little bit more complicated than what I've laid out here, but this sort of gives you a general idea of what's going on in the game. If you are interested in this, I would say definitely give it a try. Be patient with yourself when you're going through the rulebook, though. It does look very, very intimidating. It's a big, chunky rulebook. And all of the Learn to Play videos that I saw when I was researching this game are 30 minutes or more. And that is just because there is kind of a lot going on here. And the rulebook is very, very detailed. So instead of just saying, draw 5 cards and play one, they'll be like, on your turn, before the beginning of your turn, draw 5 cards. Then you can play a card. So instead of, keeping it short and simple, they really expounded on a lot of things, which I think is great because it negates potential for, misunderstandings or, not fully understanding what's going on or that kind of thing. But it does present as kind of a intimidating rulebook. That being said, I don't think the game itself is terribly complex. It does have some stuff going on, but I don't think it's terribly complex. So if you are interested in this, don't let the rule book or the long Learn to Play videos discourage you. It's not terribly difficult to pick up once you get into it.
Oh my.
Is that what we should do now?
Yes, let's go ahead and get into the Endogenesis 2nd edition by Hyperlixir. Let's do it. Hey Maple people, how's it going? And oh my gosh, this game takes so long to play. It's cards. Yeah, I say that, but it's one of those games where if this is like a game you play on repeat and you really dig into the depth of strategy and the things that you can just keep digging into this game, yeah, it's nice. If you're not one of those people, this is a game that just takes a long time.
Well, it does. It takes so long.
That shouldn't be such a negative, but sometimes it could be. But yeah, we'll get into our final thoughts later. But for now, let's go to Sarah and see what she thinks so far.
Hi there. It does take a very long time to play this game. The box time does say 45 to 120 minutes. So 120 minutes, that's 2 hours. And essentially this is like a card game, right? So you're playing one card game for 2 hours. It's a cool card game. But to like sit down and play a game of like, I don't know, this weight for this long, that feels a little bit disproportionate to me. We're at the point of the game where Nick has 2 of the 3 prisms needed to win. I have 1. If I get another prism, the game will end and we'll count up all of our points. If Nick gets another prism, then the game will end and he'll win. So we're not like too far away from the end of the game, I don't think, but like it has taken a while to get here. And when we're not even there yet. So there's some neat stuff happening. We've both acquired a class card. So I have my
They're
Bastion.
holographic.
They're really cool. I have my Bastion. I just acquired it on my last turn. I was, previously I had, I don't know, maybe this card I think was in play. And I replaced it with another one of the green cards. So I finally met the conditions to get the Bastion class card, and I had in my hand one of the cards that would allow me to get a class card, because you have to not only meet the conditions of the class card, but you also have to be able to get the class card by paying a card to do that, a specific card to access those class cards. So I finally got everything lined up. It took me a really long time to do that, which was kind of frustrating. I was really trying to work it out so that I could get a class card sooner, but I just could not draw the cards I needed to get all of one type. And there's a few different kinds of class cards. There's one for like each of the sort of like factions, right? So there's like colors in the game. So like green is organic. So green is the organic faction, right? So to get the organic class, you have to have all organic skills, right? And Nick, he is the mechanic, and for him to get his mechanic class, he had to have all mechanic cards in order to do that. So there's a few different, and then there's one where like if each one of your cards is a different sort of faction, then like there's one that it's called formless, and you can get that. So, but you have to have all your cards set up to meet the conditions of the class requirement for the card that you're trying to get. And then you also have to have that special card to actually get access to the class's deck. So I finally was able to do that. It took me a really long time and I was kind of frustrated about it. And like I said, a couple of times I just felt like I was like ramming my head into the wall over and over again, trying to do that in the way that I was trying to do it. I really wanted it to happen with the green cards because I liked the ability of the green class. When I get it, it maximizes my health by 3 extra points. And then, at the end of my turn, it gives me 3 points of health every turn. So I wanted that one and I worked really hard to get it, but I just, for a lot of the early game and even like the mid game, I felt like I was really like hitting my head into that over and over again, trying to like line that up, and it just wasn't really working. I wasn't drawing the cards I needed to get 4 green cards out here. So then I even tried to pivot and use like a different strategy. And at one point I had like 2 purple cards and like 2 green cards, and then I couldn't get the purple cards I needed to pivot to that strategy. And so it was just kind of a frustrating experience trying to get the class cards for me personally, just because I couldn't get the cards I needed to come out. Meanwhile, Nick had gotten his class card like turns ago.
Only a couple. It took me a while to get mine.
Yeah, I mean, they're not supposed to be easy to get, right? Like they're pretty powerful cards, so you don't want them to be like, haha, I got one turn too, you know? But it was just kind of frustrating to me that I was even willing to like pivot on my strategy, and it still like didn't happen for a long, long time. That being said, I feel like I have a decent sort of engine built up here. I've got all 4 of my cards working for me. I've got my 3 basics, and each one of those is completely maxed out. So like they're as upgraded as they can possibly be. And then I have my ultimate skill, which is almost completely maxed out. If I could just get 2 more shards, then I can completely max out my ultimate skill as well. So I feel like I'm in a pretty good place there. I really do like the ability of my class, and I think that that will be helpful because now that I'm at my max health as well, being able to restore health every turn is going to help me to kind of, not die. Dying is interesting in this game. When you die, you get to keep everything. Nothing goes away. You don't really lose anything. You regain all your health up to your max health. But on your next turn, you come back to the game in a weakened state, and all of your skills you can only use as if you had not upgraded them at all, but only for one turn. So it doesn't hurt too badly to die in this game. In fact, if you have like a decent bit of max health, then like it can be kind of nice if you're, low health for a few turns and then you die, then you get to go all the way back up to your max health. You just can't use your upgraded skills on the next turn. So there's definitely some interesting stuff going on here. We have just encountered, was it an event? I think It was an event. Yeah, we just encountered an event that forced us to find a legendary monster and bring them to the front of the, what is this? The Chaos deck, right? Yeah, the Realm of Chaos deck. So he is a legendary monster. Those are the creatures that you have to kill in order to get the prisms. So if Nick kills this monster, then Nick wins the game. If I kill this monster, then we will add up all of our points and see who wins the game that way. So one way or the other, we're almost at the end. And it is, I think, pretty close at this point because either way it could go. Nick could either just straight out win, or if I get the prism by killing the monster, then we'll have to add up our points and see who wins that way. I think the game is really, really interesting. I've really enjoyed playing different cards and seeing how I can trigger certain things to happen, and how there feels like there's a lot of choice in how you want to play, because you're not locked into any sort of faction type. You can use any faction you want. You might not qualify to get a class card that way, but you can use any cards you want, even if they don't relate to the faction of any other cards you've previously played. So you can use any card you want. And there's definitely some interesting combos. I feel like there are more synergies if you do try to stick with a certain faction. But some of the most interesting things that I've been able to do throughout the game have come from having a strange mix of one, two or more factions, where I'm okay, well, this card gives me health, and this card says for my maximum amount of health, then I get to deal extra damage or something. So there have been some interesting synergies even when playing with mixed groups of factions, which I think is pretty cool. I think that there's some other cool stuff going on. I really like being able to upgrade your cards. So the cards, they start off with an ability. That's my ultimate. I'm not going to show you that one. Let me show you this one. So the cards start off with a basic ability that they can do, right? And then you can use shards to upgrade that ability. So on this card here, if I have one shard on this card, instead of doing this, it does it a little bit better. If I have 2 shards, it does it even better than that. And if I have 4 shards on this card, it does it really, really well. And when you get shards, you get to decide how you want to use them. You can either use them to upgrade cards, or you can use them to upgrade your health tracker. So we start out with a max capacity of 3 health at the beginning of the game. And for the first 7 health upgrades, it just costs 1 crystal. So I could spend a shard and upgrade my maximum health by 1 until I get to 10. And then after 10, they cost 2. So to get 11, I need to spend 2 crystals. So that's kind of a cool thing that you can choose to do with your crystals if you don't want to use them to upgrade your cards. But I like the idea of having a card that remains in play for as long as you want it to, but can continue to get better, and you can kind of sharpen your skills, right? So I think that that's really cool. And I think that the production of the game is really nice. We already talked about the foil cards before. I just think foil is so pretty, and like I think that's just really cool. So there's foil cards in the game. It comes with a play mat. There's plenty of tokens. There's plenty of cards. There's cloth, like these velvet cloth bags, like for storage. You don't even need these to play the game. They do say that you can like open this up and set it on the table with the tokens inside, and then you can like reach in there and get the tokens out. But like these are basically just like for storage. So they're nice cloth bags. The cards are nice quality. Everything that is cardboard, like the tokens and our health boards and stuff like that, they're all nice, thick. I'm getting into our review. Sorry. But like it's a nice presentation and the game is interesting. It's almost over. What are your thoughts right now, Nick?
Right now, it takes a while to play, but it's one of those games where if you like to kind of play a game over and over and over and really squeeze out every like last drop of a game, this is definitely one of those games that you would enjoy, especially if you like card games.
There's an expansion too. I don't even know what's in the expansion, but yeah, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and jump back into it and see who is the winner and the loser, and we'll see you all in a bit. Let's get back into Endogenesis. And welcome back, people. Sarah is the winner. After years of playing this game, Sarah has finally taken the W. And so we now go into, I know we already went into our final thoughts a little bit already, but let's get back into just the rest of the things we have to say about Endogenesis 2nd edition by, is it Hyperlixir?
Hyperlixir Games.
Hyperlixir Games. So, Sarah, without further ado,
So I did win by just 1 point. We had a legendary monster come out that I was able to defeat. That gave me my 2nd prism. That means we both had 2 prisms. So it came down to like points basically, and you get points based on your max health, where it is on this tracker here, and also how many shards you have collected. And I had 1 more shard than Nick did. So I won by 1 point. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on in this game, I think. And I like the play quite a bit. But oh my gosh, does it take a long time. And our first game took longer than our second. I think when we were learning the game, it did took a little bit longer. But even when we knew better what we were doing, it still took it felt like a long time. And I had fun the whole time for the most part. Even if I wasn't, there was one point that I got upset, but it was because I misplayed something and I was frustrated with myself. But other than that, like for the most part, I was like fully engaged in what was happening and I was having like a good time the whole time. It just took a very long time to get there. Now, as you're playing, you are definitely like making steady progress throughout the game. It's not like there's any portion of the game where it's, too slow, nothing's happening, like it's not ramping up fast enough. I don't think it's anything like that. I just think that like to make that slow, steady progress over the course of the game, it just takes a while.
Indeed.
That being said, I had a lot of fun the whole time I was playing, and I enjoyed getting to try to, make these combos work the way I wanted and to sort of form like these symbiotic, combos where I was like, okay, well, this card really has great synergy with this other card. And I really like this, thing that I've got going on. It's kind of like this engine building feel to it. And then there's also, like the fighting and stuff like that. I thought that everything was intelligently designed as far as like it made sense what we were supposed to be doing and why. There's nothing that's overly like necessarily fiddly about it. You can I don't know. I feel like things just made sense as we're playing. It is a lot to take in at first. There's kind of like a lot of information you have to learn in order to be able to play this for the first time. But I feel like after you learn it, it's fairly what's that word? Where it's I can't remember what the word is, but it's like it makes sense. It's logical. It flows smoothly. There's nothing intuitive. That's the word I'm looking for. Intuitive. So I feel like it's pretty intuitive once you know what you're doing, and things make sense. It's not challenging to remember what's supposed to happen when, or like how things work together or that kind of thing. Everything is just pretty intuitive once you get to know the game. I mentioned this previously, but I'll mention it again if anybody skipped straight to the end. The quality here is really, really nice. There are like probably more of everything than you need. We did have to shuffle through the deck of the knowledge cards. We had to shuffle through that a few times in each game. But to be honest, I didn't think that was really prohibitive at all to the replayability, because there's enough cards in there and they come out in different orders every time, So everything else though, like I don't think we saw all of everything else at all. So
Just a lot of depth within the game.
Yeah, there's a lot of depth. There's a lot of cards here, so there is a lot where you can kind of explore. There's an expansion as well called Beyond Endogenesis. I don't even know what's in that one yet, but I feel like there's a lot just in the base game. I was telling Nick earlier, I feel like this game gives me the feeling of an LCG, a living card game, but in one box, which is really nice because LCGs are like, that's a really cool concept, but they can be a deep, deep money sink. And then also you just like, I got into the Arkham Horror LCG and I just bought like a ton of stuff for it. And now it's taking up like a lot of room and it takes a ton of time to like set up if I ever want to play. And it's just, there's just so much in it. But this to me feels like you get a similar feel of an LCG, but in a much more complete package. So it was like, okay, well, yeah, there's an expansion. But if I never, ever, ever play with that, or if they never come out with anything else for this game, I feel like you could still play this game for a long, long time and feel like it continued to be a fresh experience and it continued to be like interesting, and you would continue to find like depth and I don't know, entertainment in the game. So to me, it had like almost this feeling of like an LCG, but without that pressure to money sink and then to like have like just a ton of stuff for it. This felt similar in the gameplay experience, where I was having like a deep strategy experience in a card game, but it didn't come with all that extra stuff where I was like tied to having like way too much stuff for it and feeling like I'd spent a lot of money on it, or that I needed to spend a lot of time, on it, or things like that. So I feel like this gives the players the LCG feel without all the negative feelings to the LCG feel, right? Like having to spend a lot of money on it, spend a lot of time on it, that kind of stuff. Put a lot of space, aside for it. So I thought that was pretty cool. I like the general feeling that like the whole thing brings together. I like the sort of universe that's crafted here. To be honest, the artwork is kind of whatever to me. It's the foil cards are really cool, I think. And all the artwork flows together nicely. Some games, I feel like the artwork on certain things can be kind of disjointed, where you're like, well, this one deck of cards doesn't look like it matches, this game at all because the art style is different or whatever. In this one, I felt like everything was like very smooth presentation. It all coheses very well. I would say the one thing about like the sort of storyline or whatever that I didn't really care for is that there's a whole big storyline about how we are all attempting to become gods. And I'm not a deeply religious person, but I think that that's a dangerous plan to attempt for a human to become God. So I do have a teeny tiny bit of a problem with the theme. However, it almost does not come through in the game at all. Like there's not like flavor text that reinforces that, or even imagery or anything like that made me feel like that's really what we were trying to do in this game. I think that's what I have to say about it. What do you think, Nick?
For this one, yeah, the theme is like, I didn't really think too much and deeply on the theme, so it as Sarah said, it didn't come through terribly as much. But basically, main points I want to hit is this game takes a while to play. This game is for those that like a game that they can just keep digging into over and over and over again. And this is like an LCG in just a giant one big package.
And it's not even that big of a package.
It's not.
Actually.
Yeah, it's not. Even
this is
that big.
The base game box, and it's this big. It's not even like that big, really. And like I said, there's the expansion as well. I don't know if it would fit in the base game if we attempted that or not, but it's not even really that big of a game, really. But it really does feel like a much bigger game than the components would lead one to believe.
Yeah. And so this is, like a very compact legacy style game, or not legacy, LCG game that you can play over and over again. I like the synergy that you can obtain within the game, and it's just kind of one of those games that you could just play for a long time with friends that also like this kind of game. So,
well, it also says in the rules too that there are several different methods of play, right? Like I think there's 3 different methods of play.
Yeah.
And we only played with like one.
Yeah.
So there's
even a solo variant, so you can play that. There's a lot of a lot. When I say, I don't want to sound so like dismissive, but like there's a lot of replayability. I mean, a lot of replayability with this game, and it's nice to have that within games, and especially this one. This one's like you can dig for days and keep finding new and interesting things and interesting ways to play this one. So
I also think sometimes with games that have high replayability, it's like, okay, well, I could play this 100 times and it wouldn't get stale. But there's no way that I want to play this 100 times. And maybe I don't want to play this 100 times, but I would definitely be willing to play this probably, I would say, a lot. So sometimes I think, like, if you say a game has high replayability, okay, great, but would you actually want to play it a bunch of times, Well, in this case, I think the answer for me personally is like, yeah, I would play this a lot. And I could play this a lot because it does have high replayability.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, that was our vlog of Endogenesis by Hyperlixir.
Yep, Hyperlixir.
Hyperlixir Games. And we hope you all enjoyed it. We will have links in the description so you can find out more about this. But yeah, well, we'll see you all next time. Toodles!